Hello, people over there on YouTube. We have Fabulous, and he loves Trench Crusade.
I'm only here till a certain event happens. A canon event, one might say.
I don't know what you mean by that. I'll be completely honest, but anyway,
Don't worry about it.
we're going to head into this, and we'll see where it goes. The limited possibility of Trench Crusade. I don't know how, honestly, Chrono feels about grim dark settings.
Meh.
Like,
I haven't really watched very much grim dark stuff.
honestly, if there's one stuff you'd probably get into, it's the Caiaphas Cain books for 40k, because they're just kind of funny at times.
Oh.
Oh God. God, this game. Yeah, Rojo, the
Because
Imperial.
he's basically Courage the Cowardly Dog of 40k. I'm
Oh.
I'm not even joking, where he has to run up or think of plans to deal with stuff on the fly. He's dealt with some horrifying stuff, but either way, we're talking about Trench Crusade here, which is basically World War II style weaponry against the forces of hell.
Ah.
Yeah, they've been going on for this war for a long time. And using magic bullets. There are snipers who are blinding themselves, who basically let Jesus take the wheel in order to hit their shots. And yeah, they always hit. So
Also, Chrono, just to let you know, the reason the war's been going on for like 800 years now, I think, give or take.
yeah,
Basically, it's a Cold War, from what I understand. I was trying to figure out how, if they were at war with the forces of hell, how have humans or anything not gotten so bad? But turns out it's like more of a Cold War because the forces of hell are fighting amongst themselves, and I'm like,
yeah.
that
Ah.
explains a lot.
Basically, the Council of the Seven-Head Serpent basically are because they switch leaders every so often. You know, the Seven Deadly Sin leaders, so they kind of fight amongst each other all the time. Yeah, World War One is what I meant to say. But
Ah.
they're constantly fighting amongst each other. Just when one gains supremacy, do they lead a charge against the forces of humanity.
It's just the
Oh,
only one
okay.
that actually does something outside of the console is Beelzebub, which is kind of funny.
And for what we've learned, another one, Mammon, the demon of greed.
Yeah,
In the past few
yeah.
weeks, a new game has taken the internet by storm, and I've been caught
Yeah.
up in the
I do
enthusiasm.
love how these
Trench
models
Crusade
look
is a grim and
for the
gritty war game
humans.
set in an alternate timeline
Someone is
where a portal
smoking
to
too
hell was
much. There's
opened
too
on
much
Earth in the year
suave right there.
Oh my
1099.
god.
And in the ensuing centuries, mankind has fought against the legions of hell in a brutal and never-ending war.
Yeah, we have
The
the
year is
new
now
Antioch.
1914, and the blasted wastelands left by a near millennium of endless conflict are crisscrossed with trenches and fortifications.
Yep.
But beyond the amazing world, the creators of Trench
That's
Crusade
not
have
again.
created something truly special. A framework and culture
Oh,
that
that looked
enables
cool.
and encourages the creative energies
Oh yeah,
of the
the
community.
beasts.
So in this video, I'm digging into the limitless possibilities of Trench Crusade.
But they actually have Holy Blessed ammo and Holy Blessed. There's actually, let me see, 12 Paladins originally with super cool armor that actually go into hell and take out certain targets.
Trench Crusade is the vision of an all-star cast of experienced industry experts. The concept is created by Mike Francina, an incredibly talented artist who's done work for some of the world's biggest fantasy properties.
Really?
Thomas Pirinen, the rules writer for the game, is a near mythical figure in the wargames community.
I did not know
having
these
written
people.
rules for the cult classic Mordheim, as well as the greatest
Oh.
edition of Warhammer Fantasy. Also on the
Nice.
team is James Sheriff, a veteran sculptor who has a long resume of sculpting some of the world's best miniatures.
Oh, that's
Full
cool.
disclosure, this game will not be for everybody. It
Oh, yeah.
contains a huge amount of religious imagery and themes,
Well,
and real-world
I'm
faiths,
here for it.
albeit in an imagined alternate history, are at the forefront. It's also incredibly
yeah.
grim and dark, with horrifying
Dear
themes
God.
and concepts that aren't for the faint of heart.
Fable
If you're
loves
put
this
off by
stuff.
any of these things, this game is probably not for you. I'll admit that I was
I want a
initially bit
video
put
game
off
of
by all
this.
the religious imagery myself. I'm not interested in mocking or disrespecting anyone's beliefs just for the sake of it. But the more I dug into the setting, the more I began to view Trench Crusade as I would like any other piece of art that deals with faith and blasphemy. Heavy metal music and horror movies are constantly playing with these themes because I think there's something universally fascinating
Well,
about
funny
the dark
enough,
side
there
of humanity.
were actually a court case for this, but basically they said as or when they were doing like shout to the devil, they're saying we're shouting at him, more or less. We're not with him on this, or more or less from what I remember on those court cases.
I'm I'm gonna be completely honest. Sooner or later, I think GW is gonna try to be like, "That's not fair. We copyrighted all this bullshit." No, you
But
didn't.
you
Shut up.
can't copyright religion.
No, I
Yeah.
know, but they're gonna try to because GW wants money and they
Oh,
want
yeah.
to be in charge of everything.
I honestly I want an RTS game of Trench Crusade. That's what I want.
I mean, if it gets popular enough, and in time, we might see stuff like that happen.
Or
That's usually how it goes.
Or wait, we could do it like Foxhole. That would be amazing. A continuous onslaught of war all times. That'd be so cool. The war. There's more on the
Human
models than the
nature,
lore.
and the
That's
ways in which
fine.
our belief
Fable
systems
likes
and
looking at the models, and
institutions
so do I.
amplify those dark
The
aspects.
amount
But just
of
like
people
you don't
do
have to
with
be
the
a Satanist
models,
to
it's kind of
enjoy watching a
insane.
movie like The Exorcist, I think it's
Ugh.
possible to enjoy playing in the fantastic world of an
I like
alternate
I
history
like
of World
the
War I
more
without
gross
feeling like you're
models, but
expressing any
Mac
sort of critique of anyone's
so
beliefs
I
or
like the
espousing any particular
mechanical stuff.
worldview.
He likes the
At
gross
least
models.
that's how I feel about it.
I
But
do.
just to be crystal clear, no disrespect to anybody's culture or faith is intended by me in this video.
Oh no, like I'm pretty
In the world
sure
of Trench Crusade, the Abrahamic God
I'm pretty
and
sure
demons
plenty
hell
of
intervene in
Islamic people
tangible
actually
ways.
like to be included in this. Because they rarely ever get included in any kind of things like this. I've heard nothing but praise for it. And honestly, this is
I
some
mean,
really
from
cool art.
what I understand, a lot of the models and a lot of the different religions are actually very tastefully done. Like no
Oh,
insults to
yeah.
them whatsoever.
Like, it's not
Which is
disrespectful
saying
to
something.
any forms of Christianity. It's actually embracing the more interesting parts of their history. This makes me want to kit bash. It definitely
Often and with great
looks
effect.
interesting.
Powerful supernatural forces have affected the development of civilization and warfare as much, if not more than, scientific research has. With the timeline diverging from our real world during the period of the Crusades,
Of the First
aesthetic
Crusade,
is a
if I
blend
remember
of medieval
correctly.
imagery and technology combined with the horror and industrialized brutality of the First World War. Soldiers in holy plate carry machine
I
guns.
love this
Dark
look.
witches hurl artillery shells with telekinetic force.
Yeah.
Literal demons traverse the battlefield. With nearly a millennium of divergence from our real world, with earth-shattering supernatural occurrences happening regularly, the world of Trench Crusade has an exciting blend of fantasy and historical influences, but ultimately provides a gigantic sandbox for players to imagine and create their own stories and creations.
You know what we should do, Fable? I just had an idea.
Mhm.
We should gather some people in a video editor and talk about what if a Trench Crusade game and gather ideas for it. I mean video game, but you get the name.
As many of you know, in previous videos I built a large-scale trench board for wargames, and while Trench
looks
Crusade
cool.
was not on my radar at the time I started that project,
It's a
ton of
nice
people
addition.
were encouraging me to look into it. As I'm a well-documented enjoyer of knights
Oh,
and the medieval
Britannia.
period with a keen interest in military history as well, it seemed like an obvious fit.
The
It
Knights
also
of
seems
Britannia.
pretty easy to get into the game. Trench Crusade's a skirmish game, which means you have to field as few as 6 models to get started, and the official playtest rules are free to download online. With the official Kickstarter making waves in the community,
Oh
I
yeah,
began to be
it
drawn
got a
into
bunch
some
of
of the
money.
gorgeous miniatures I was seeing on display. There was only one problem. At the time I started to get the urge to make a warband, the official miniatures were not yet released. But here's
Oh.
one of the things that makes Trench Crusade so cool. It's miniatures agnostic, meaning you can use any models you like.
Oh,
They encourage you
nice.
to make your
Unlike
own models,
GW.
use existing models you already have, or kit bash and convert third-party kits. And they even encourage other miniature makers to make Trench Crusade compatible models, offering a tiered licensing system to make them
Wow,
officially sanctioned.
that's really
This
nice.
means the creative freedom you're given is practically endless.
I couldn't wait for the official models, so I found some made by a smaller creator and printed them off. At this point, I was just dipping my toe in, and I thought I would enjoy painting some soldiers with knight helmets and machine guns. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this is awesome. Now, in the real world, plate armor will not stop bullets, and this sort
these
of
are
armor
holy
became obsolete
armor.
around the end of the 17th century as black powder weapons became more widespread.
Not
on
with
the
that
battlefield.
attitude, it won't.
Oh
As
my
a bit of a
god.
stickler, I started to look into the lore and found out that there is a logical explanation for why, in the world of Trench Crusade, medieval armor seemingly coexists on a 20th century battlefield. The divine forces at play allow for the creation of incredibly strong alloys that will make plate armor capable of stopping bullets. Now, this is the exact sort of attention to detail that adds believability to a setting
Yeah,
like this,
they're
and I love that
blessed.
sort of thing. At this point, I began to dig into the lore in earnest, and I learned about the different official factions. Let's take a
New
look.
Antioch.
The Principality of New Antioch,
Yeah.
the defiant bastion of the faithful against the gates.
We're going to take a look at the map eventually, but New Antioch is like a small circle cut out of the forces of hell.
The Trench Pilgrims, an
The Trench
inexorable tide
Pilgrims.
of zealots and prophets. The Heretic Legion, militant forces of humans who have knelt to hell's powers.
Yeah.
The cult of the Black Grail, who seek
Yeah.
to cover the world in a pestilence that
I
abhors all
love
life.
them.
The court of the seven-headed serpent.
Yeah, I know
Minions
you
of the
do, Fable.
archdevils who represent the seven deadly sins. And the one that captured my imagination most,
Oh.
the Iron Sultanate.
The Iron Sultanate is so cool.
Behind the divinely manifested iron wall of Dual Karnine, the Sultan's armies defend their lands against the tides of infidels and heretics. Harnessing the
Sultanate
power
sappers.
of esoteric alchemical knowledge, the Sultan's armies deploy massive batteries of artillery and sharpshooters.
Yeah.
To hold back the armies of hell, the Sultan sends forth elite Janissaries and deadly assassins.
Janissaries look
as
so
well as
cool.
terrifying tactical
And the
creations,
assassins,
synthetic
along
terrors
with the
created
Lions
in the
of Jibir.
laboratories of the alchemists. Right away, I was drawn to the Iron Sultanate. It seemed immediately obvious to me that this faction provided an incredible opportunity to explore the aesthetics of the so-called Islamic Golden Age.
Yep.
An era of scientific, economic, and cultural
People don't
flourishing.
really hear
In my
about
opinion,
this era.
This fascinating period of history is underrepresented in modern fantasy.
Yep.
So as I mentioned, at the time I started this
Because
project, the official
history
files of the
is
Iron
written
Sultanate were
by
not
the victors, and sometimes victors don't want certain other factions and groups to have any form of happiness or praise.
Or yes.
Praise. Which sucks. Because a lot
Yeah.
of cultures that we don't know about that much had done a lot of amazing things in their own rights.
Yeah, but there's also because I will say this, a lot of cultures also we don't know about them due to the fact that most of their traditions of speaking their history is oral, which they don't write things down, which is why we usually have people having to go in and, you know, ask them and write things down.
But sometimes they don't share.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
least. So I decided to make my own, and I did so using a method that's been a game changer for me: digital kit bashing. Let me show you what I've done. First up, the rank and file troops of the Iron Sultanate are called Azebs. These are soldiers recruited from the mini provinces of the Sultanate who specialize in sharpshooting and hit-and-run tactics. The official models have an incredible aesthetic to them. The gas masks, the head wrappings, and the color palette in the official art are all just wonderful. For the basis of my
Yeah, they
conversions,
look really
I decided
cool.
to use models from Sean Sutter's Sludge war game, as the Keth faction has many lightly equipped troops with head wrappings who will look at home in the Trench Crusade setting.
Yeah.
To add a little bit more of the World
Oh,
War
the
I
gas
aesthetic,
max.
I bashed on a gas mask that I found on Cults 3D using a program called Mesh Mixer.
Oh,
I
nice.
have hardly any prior experience with this program, but it's wonderfully simple. You just import the files, then align the pieces the way you want them, and then join the files and export it as an XTL. It's pretty much foolproof. I 3D printed a handful of these Azebs. and
Ooh,
gave
they're
them a
so
quick coat of
small.
paint. It was at this point that I realized that
Zebs.
I'm totally hooked. This took only a few hours in
They
total.
made them look
and
really
I have
good,
some unique
too.
miniatures for my very own Sultanate force. Hell yeah. Next up, I decided to make a
Oh.
Yuzbazi captain. The
I do
obligatory
love their
leader of
armor
my gang.
look.
I'm a Patreon supporter of someone called Wilf from Diverging Realm, who's an incredibly talented sculptor, and I believe one of the official sculptors for the game as well.
Oh,
I found this really cool body they'd made, and using a head from Keth in the same gas mask, I quickly bashed together a leader for my gang. I'm a huge fan of the way that a black head wrapping and all black outfit looks. I took a bit of inspiration from the character of Salahuddin from Kingdom of Heaven for this one.
oh,
I've done a very simple paint
Nice.
job picking out black
I
and
do like
metallic
that
bits,
sword.
and who knows, I might refine this in the future, but I'm hesitant to add more colors as the monochromatic appearance just looks so awesome in my opinion.
It
Because it's a
does.
digital kit bash and I've invested so little time in the painting so far, I might even make some digital alterations and just print a new one. I don't know. It's incredible to have that kind of freedom. Now, during the Islamic Golden Age, scholars from all over the Muslim world flocked to the University of Baghdad,
Yep.
then the largest city in the world, where intellectualism thrived under the patronage of the Muslim rulers. Scientific and philosophic works
I
from
love
China,
hearing about this.
India, ancient Greece, and all over the ancient world
I took a
were
North
translated,
African class,
copied,
and I was
made
glad to
widely
learn about
available,
this kind of stuff in the
preserving
Muslim
hundreds of texts
caliphates at
and
the
bodies of
time.
knowledge that might otherwise have been lost forever. From this era came an explosion in advancements in astronomy, mathematics, navigation, medicine, architecture, and art, and perhaps most interestingly, the foundation for the modern methods of scientific research were laid by a group intent on unlocking the mysteries of the physical world. The Alchemists.
Yep.
This is perhaps my favorite thing about this setting. Mysterious and esoteric beliefs and ideas from the medieval period are manifested literally. All of the things that the alchemists of real-world history were trying to achieve are possible in the world of Trench Crusade.
Yeah.
And as such, the alchemists play an important role in the Iron Sultanate. Of course, I knew I needed to make my own.
I started by
Oh,
simply
he's going
searching
over
for
just
an
the Iron
existing model
Sultanate
of an
here.
alchemist
I'd say.
online, and someone
have
in the
a
Trench
question.
Crusade Discord.
What is your question?
Because he's talking about alchemy. I know that one of the principles of alchemy is to try to turn lead into gold and whatnot. But
Yeah.
also, my question is, in this universe, can they make something out of nothing? Because technically, that's not necessarily possible.
They probably can't and require, as any
Materials?
alchemist, materials of some kind.
Makes sense. Because from what I remember, the alchemists in this world do one of their whole one of the things that they must do is when they get to the proper like ranking, they do have to make a homunculus to help them out and stuff to prove that they are learning. Which I always thought was kind of interesting.
Mm.
Hey,
Which is an incredible community, by the way, pointed me toward this one on Cults 3D. I wanted to add some extra details and change its loadout, so I pulled it in a mesh mixer and got to work. The first thing that I did was pull in a head from the sludge range again. I
Alright.
thought the big turban would improve the silhouette and give him an air of authority.
Yeah, I can
Watch
see
how
it.
simple this is. I just lay the face over the existing face, and damn, that already looks pretty good.
Yeah,
I attempted to blend in
Just
the
made a
larger
few
mustache
changes.
a bit with the sculpting tools and mesh mixer, and I can't tell if they're badly suited to this purpose or if I just have no idea what I'm doing. It could be a bit of both, but I got a decent result eventually.
it looks alright.
Next, I pulled in this other model of an alchemist into mesh mixer as well, also from Cults, and cut off his arm using the plane cut tool. I
Okay.
then rotated the arm to the angle I wanted and positioned it coming out
his
of his
poor
left sleeve.
arm.
His poor
So
arm.
far, so good. Now, the model comes with a hand holding a staff, but I wanted my guy to have a halberd gun, one of the special weapons that the Iron Sultanate can take.
Ah,
I cut off
Okay.
the staff, then brought in a 3D model of a halberd that I'd found, using Mesh Mixer's native tools to add a long cylinder shape to fatten up the haft of the weapon. This will make it more durable for printing and cover some of the remnants of the old staff.
makes sense.
I also found this model of a World War I machine gun.
Oof,
so I brought
just
that
put
in
it
and
on the
placed
end.
head of the halberd in a place that I thought looked decent. I added
Yeah.
another little cylinder to continue a decorative element across the muzzle of the gun part, which I think makes the whole weapon look a little bit more cohesive. I
Yeah,
then brought that in and put it on my guy. I'm starting to like where this is going.
it does a
To
lot
give
of
the
good work
alchemist a
here.
bit more armor, I added some shoulder pauldrons, echoing the design of the official Azeb art. As a bit of armor for his back, I repurposed a token that a creator named Mr. Jar had made for the Iron Sultanate, as I
Oh.
loved the intricate design. As it turns out, the design is based on a real ancient coin, so my
Oh.
guy's got a giant coin on his back.
He got a
I think it
giant
looks
coin
sweet
on
though,
it,
so
but-
I'm into it.
I mean,
Printed it
when
up,
you need
and
to
while
melt
taking the
something for
supports off,
armor,
I
you
accidentally
take what you
ripped
can
off
get,
the hand of
right?
his halberd, but rather than print it again, I decided to fix it with a bit of styrene rod, making a more prominent barrel instead, which I think looks fine. I mean, why stab somebody when you can shoot a burst of alchemical rounds? Am I right?
Mm.
As I started to put some paint on it, I
Yeah,
decided
I mean,
to take inspiration for
alchemy's
his
fire.
color scheme from a character that
Yeah.
I always kind of liked as a kid.
Greek fire.
I make an attempt at doing a liquid
Or
effect on
alchemist
some
fire,
of his
whatever you want
glasswork,
to call
and boom. Let me introduce
turned
you
him
to
into
Ibn
Jafar.
al-Jafari,
Oh
my
my
lead
God.
alchemist.
Use the color
Oh,
scheme.
seriously. Use Jafar's color scheme. He's Jafar now.
Alchemy is a fascinating historical rabbit hole to go down. Perhaps the most prolific alchemist is the mysterious 9th century alchemist Jabir ibn Hayyan, who's credited with writing over 600 texts.
Oh, I
not
think
just
I've
on
heard of
alchemy,
him.
but cosmology, astronomy and astrology, medicine, pharmacology, zoology, botany, metaphysics, logic, and even grammar. It's unclear if
botany.
Jabir, whose name was Latinized
Yeah.
in later translations as Jeber, was even a real person. There is clear
There's
evidence that as late
a
as the
few people
13th
like that.
century, an anonymous writer in Europe was publishing alchemical texts under his name. Nonetheless, Jabir
Huh.
ibn Hayyan is credited with many contributions to modern science, including introducing methods for distillation, crystallization, and filtration of chemicals that are still used
Interesting.
today, and he's sometimes called the father of modern chemistry. However, while alchemy in many ways resembled a precursor to modern chemistry, the practice also encompassed mysterious and esoteric pursuits such as the transmutation of lesser metals into gold.
Ooh.
But many alchemists were consumed with the pursuit of taquin, the creation of artificial life.
Oh, yeah.
Attempting to research alchemy is incredibly difficult, as there are so many wild and conflicting sources. It's inextricably linked with
Science.
mysticism, symbology, and a fair
Oh,
bit
yeah.
of total nonsense as well. It's a fascinating subject
Well,
and
they're
one
trying
that
to
I've just
see what
begun to
could
dive
work.
into, but I'm certainly a long way from feeling like I have a good grasp on it. Take a look at this woodcut portrait of Jabir ibn Hayyan, where he's pictured anachronistically wearing Elizabethan clothes.
And
In
then
it,
he's got that
He's
lion
joined by a lion,
thing.
which likely has some symbolic
Probably
significance
homunculus.
that I don't yet fully understand, and perhaps I never will. But suffice to say, this idea has been adapted in its most literal and bombastic sense
The
in the
Lions
world
of
Trench
Jabir.
Crusade, where alchemists have managed to use the practice of taquin to create terrifying creatures. To
Yeah,
pit
they
against
made
their enemies.
artificial life here,
And
Chrono.
one such of these creations are the horrifying Lions of Jabir.
They always
It's
have
said
like
that when the Sultan himself deigns to
80
go
of
into
these,
battle,
if I
he's
remember
accompanied
correctly.
by 77 of these
77.
monstrosities. Looking at the concept art for these creatures, you can see an
Oh, wow.
evolution in the idea
Yeah.
from something leonine to something
They're
more
artificial
humanoid and
life.
terrifying. And indeed, according
They're
to lore, the
homunculus.
lions take many
Yep.
shapes and forms depending on the
The Lions
alchemical
of
conditions
Jabir.
of their creation. So I decided to make my own. I found this model called an Ape Fiend, made by Artisans Guild. I decided mine should have a somewhat simian form, loping forward on its knuckles like the official one. I
Alright.
began to add some medallions on him to tie it in with the official design. I didn't really feel like covering him with symbols and sigils that I didn't understand, so I ended up using an antique coin and some shields. I also
Okay.
added a cat-like mask, which I think gives the model a really great contrast between the calm and ornate visage of the cat and the wild and ferocious beast underneath. I
Okay.
actually ended up giving him a Viking Wayfarer's talisman on one sholders as well, which doesn't
Oh.
exactly fit the lore, but it does look pretty cool.
Yeah.
I printed
You
him
only
and
added a
painted
few
him up
things
with
to
a
it.
pale skin tone with a purplish undertone.
I mean,
and
maybe
picked
we'll
out the
learn
metallic
more
areas
about
of
other
white gold.
cultures we haven't
I
figured
painted
out
his
yet.
hair a deep
As it-
black
as
to
it
give
Yeah.
a nice
progresses.
contrast, and washed a thin
Always
black
loving
over
more,
the areas
learning
that had
more
visible
about the
fur
cultures
texture
and the
in an attempt to create
mythologies.
a bit of a transition. Then I
Because
tied
it's still
things
in the
together
early
with some more washes of dark
phases,
tone and
so
strong tone.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
might
we
be
might
adding
get
Now,
more
more.
I
stuff.
usually don't put blood on my models, but in this case, the concept art is just so incredibly brutal looking. I knew I had to do
Yeah.
it. I started by sparingly applying some red wash, and then eventually I used dry blood effect and just went way overboard with it. The end result is just absolutely brutal.
He makes them look
Can you
good.
imagine this thing bounding towards you? That's the stuff of nightmares.
That is.
Now, as I was working on these projects, the Kickstarter for Crunch Crusade was fulfilled, and I was able to get access to some of the official models as well.
Ooh, I do love these
Painted up the
official
Sapper,
looks.
the official Alchemist model, an official line of Jabir, and some of the official Azeps as well.
Can't wait
Whenever
for
I
them
get
to
into a
add
new
it.
game, I make
Oh,
sure
they
to
probably
magnetize
will.
my models, which makes them
They,
really
see,
easy to
it
store
seems
and
to,
transport.
that they're adding all of the
magnets I
Abrahamic
use are from the
religions.
sponsor of this video.
I mean-
Wait, so they do
The
at
magnet
if they do at the Jewish faith, does that mean that they're going to mostly be based in golems and stuff? Because to my understanding, golems are from Jewish mythology in the religion.
They are,
Isn't
but
it
there, but there is also a legend of a man from Spain at one point. He was a member of the Muslim faith, if I remember correctly, that could make golems. So we'll see where it goes. But I will also say that I really want them to get more characters for the Kingdom of Abyssinia, because they have a cool looking model of their soldiers that are fighting against Mammon, the archdemon of greed's forces. They just look so cool. They got a lion's mane and everything.
Aaron makes a large
Because for those who don't know, the Kingdom of Abyssinia was a major Christian kingdom in Africa that unfortunately was mostly wiped out because of the Black Death. Anyway,
variety of
Black
powerful,
Death
high-quality
Rogue
magnets in a wide range of sizes.
it really did.
The website is really easy to use for wargamers as it's sorted into a bunch of common use cases. So visit themagnetbaron.com and stock up today. Thanks Magnet Baron for sponsoring this video.
Nice.
I have more than enough models to play the game now, but I'm just getting started. I also started building a force of Heretic Legion as well,
Ooh.
but I'll save that topic for another video.
What a baby.
In addition, I've started building some terrain pieces to complement my Iron Sultanate force, which I'm really excited to show you guys in a future video as well. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it.
I love
I
some of
want to
these
give
looks
a
of
huge
the Iron
thank you to all of
Sultanate.
my patrons for their continued support. And if you want to support the work I do, joining my Patreon is a great way. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Eric's Hobby Workshop.
Yeah, the forces, basically all of the Abrahamic religions, we don't know what's going on in Asia right now, but it doesn't look like things are going well. But we know all of the Abrahamic religions have put aside their differences in order to fight the forces of hell for obvious reasons.
Also, Common, I looked it up. The number 77 has a big meaning in certain religions.
Yes, the number 7 is a holy number. The number 77 is a very holy number.
Yeah.
That's why they're in New Antioch, there are 77 towers surrounding the outside of the city. Anyway.
Also, the fact that I think it was Antioch, that literally willed itself. The city willed itself into existence. Nobody built it. It just randomly appeared one day.
Yeah, that's how they also explain the iron wall of the Iron Sultanate, which seemed to have just appeared.
Yep.
Anyway.
No one can explain it. It's just like, yeah, it's here. Use it or don't use it. I don't know.
Anyway, thank you all so much, and we'll see you later. Hello, Daisy.
Hello.
Hi,
Daisy.
Daisy.
If you like what we're doing here,
Hello. Hi, Chrono.
I don't mention this enough, but yes, go on to the Patreon if you want to see a lot of our reactions. There should be over 100 reactions that you don't see over here.
There's at least 3 reactions, maybe
Oh my
4.
God.
You
But
know,
if
as
you-
a treat.
But if you want to give us $1 just so you can see all the reactions, that would be really helpful because, well, it helps me pay for bills and whatnot. Anyway. And if enough people do it, well, I'll be able to take care of stuff easily, and we can just focus on reactions instead of having to focus on my work. Anyway, thank you all so much, and we'll see you all later. Bye-bye.